Going to be talking about Windows, what was Windows 9, not really 9, it's 10, maybe it's 9, I don't know.
We don't know.
8.1, 8?
8.2, we don't know.
So we'll let Jonathan get us started.
Well, I'm Jonathan Smith from Lafayette, Indiana, and before anybody else asked me this question, I did not bring Donnie this year on purpose so we would all have a chance to win something. Thank you very much. That's it, I'm done. Anyway, I appreciate Microsoft continuing their naming inconsistencies, so my catchy little 10 minutes with Windows 10 would work. You know, they started out with the Xbox and then naturally went to the Xbox 360, and now we all have the Xbox One. Rumor is they had to skip Windows 9 because too much of the code refers to Windows 9 Star. I think they did it so they can keep Windows versions on the same schedule as Star Trek movies, only every other one is good, so Wrath of Khan was better than the motion picture. Other ideas include that Windows 9 implies there would be a Windows 10, 11, and 12, because of course we know there are no numbers after 10. Windows 10 is numerically satisfying, because we all get satisfied off of the numbers. And my favorite is 7, 8, 9. I'll pause while the slow ones among you figure that out. The goal of Windows 10 is to fix everything that's wrong with Windows 8 and somehow marry that back to Windows 7 because everybody hates Windows 8, everybody likes Windows 7. It's obvious that 8 had a very, very rough start. The adoption of Windows 8.1 has been very low, even though it made numerous improvements for the desktop users. So the Start menu is back. Please don't let the comment about Donnie be the only thing that gets applause here. Is this being streamed? Because if he's watching, I'll never hear the end of it. I've talked about the Start menu, the Start button, and the Start screen before, and in past 10 talks, Microsoft's been pretty quiet on why they brought this back. They took it out because they said Windows Improvement Program users didn't use the Start menu. Anybody in the Windows Improvement Program? Yeah, the sample of data there seemed to be wrong. The new Start menu is a hybrid of the Start screen and the old Start menu. I like this. It kind of gives you a lot with one button and one menu. Your hardware will get to determine whether you see a full Start menu like that or a different version based on if you have a touchscreen or not. Also, since the Metro apps can run in a full normal-sized window, there really isn't any need for a Metro or a Start screen anymore. This will make an upgrade and the impact on the end users much easier, especially for non-touch enabled devices. Instead of nothing, now they can see a design change that I think is very user-friendly, and I'm running Windows 10 now, and it works pretty well. The Windows 10 Tech Preview is out. Everybody in this room should be running the Tech Preview. Go to preview.windows.com, register, and get the enterprise version. There's a tiny little button down there at the bottom. Unlike Windows 8, where they made all these great decisions in a smoke-filled closet, here they're asking for our input. And I think we should all give them our input. We're running Enterprise on just an old machine that we have in our office. We also have the consumer version running on an older laptop. Both are working very well. And again, being a preview, they do have a few glitches, but it gives you a good idea what the experience will feel like. If you're a Windows shopper, you support a lot of Windows users, there's no reason for you not to be running the preview. So when I'm done and the next guy starts talking, go to preview.windows.com, register. I'm sure the Wi-Fi here can handle it if Daryl didn't mess it up too badly. And everybody start downloading the bits so you can run this as soon as you get home, or even start now on your production machine. They've given you a lot of options for feedback. These are some of the feedback screens that come up. Here it says, how do you use Start? And you got a 1 through 5. And then you give them your comments. It's so easy, even an IT person can do it. You can also search the reviews on specific terms. So here's a search on feedback on tiles, and it lists the different priorities of different comments that are made about the tiles, so you can see what other people are saying, and you don't always post the same thing. I mean, if 400 people say tiles stink, that doesn't really help the development team of Microsoft. If all else fails, you can review all areas of feedback. In the current release, there are lots of things to comment on, and more are being added with every update. While running the preview, I found it's popped up several times and said, what do you think of this? Click here. And a few times I've clicked there and told them what I thought of it. The nice thing is it's relatively anonymous. They don't know you work for a church. I don't know why that should matter. Thus far, Microsoft claims to have gotten 250,000 pieces of information. The preview's only been out for a couple of weeks. Through the Windows feedback tool, 25,381 ideas from the community forum, and somebody's using the old-fashioned suggestion box. Again, there's no reason for you not to do this. It's up to us to make Windows 10 great. And just like voting, if you don't vote, you don't get to complain later. That was the applause moment. And like everything else, Microsoft has decided Windows needs to get flatter. I don't know if they stole this idea from anybody else, because apparently every OS needs to be flatter. So the new desktop is flatter. You can see some new icons on there that they claim to be flatter with thinner borders. Windows 8 dropped a bunch of shadows. A rumor is a lot of those are going to start to come back. You can see the new Explorer icon down at the bottom is a much flatter, softer design. I'm more of a function over fashion guy. I really don't care what it looks like, just as long as it works. They've also improved snapping. This is important on a touchscreen device. You can drag and drop things now. Currently in Windows 8.1, it's all all vertical. Now you can do it in all 4 directions, horizontal and vertical, and you can do 4 at once, and then you can copy those between multiple desktops. They've also improved the task view interface. This is the old slide deck where you hit Alt-Tab and you could see everything that you were running. Apparently the current slide deck in Windows 8 and 8.1 they didn't like. This has been, again, flattened. They claim it's easier for novice users to see what they're doing with multitasking. It's basically an updated to Alt-Tab. The big change is down here at the bottom where it says Add a Desktop. Virtual desktops are coming to Windows 10. I'm so glad Microsoft finally came up with this idea. I really hope it plays out well, because there aren't many other devices that have multiple virtual desktops. Hopefully, and I think this is what Microsoft hopes too, this will drive people to upgrade. A lot of people still running XP and Windows 7. Hopefully this will get people to move to Windows 10. No more Metro or Start Screen. The Metro interface, we think, has been removed. It's not in the current preview. However, there are some conflicting reports about whether it will make an appearance again for touch-only devices. Again, the biggest complaint about Windows 8 is it's one size fits all. Whether you're a touch user or a mouse user, you got stuck with the same thing. One theory is that Windows 10 is going to come in 2 flavors, a touch version and a desktop version. I hope they don't do that. What do you do with a device like a Surface? It's kind of both. A better approach, I think, is to have a button or a checkbox that says, never show me the start screen anymore, ever. Unless I'm only using a touch screen, then go ahead and let it pop up. It remains to be seen how that will be developed. Again, it's not on the preview. There's not even a checkbox for it in the preview. However, a lot of comments online seem to indicate that they're going to give that an option. I do hope they don't do multiple flavors, because won't that be fun for deployment? The charms are gone, or at least we think they're gone. They're currently up there in the corner. Right now, you don't get the charms menu in the traditional sense, at least not on a non-touch device. I'm not running this on a touch device, so I don't know if their charms are in the traditional sense. But they come up in the upper left-hand corner. When you press Windows C, there's a lot more information to them, and they make a lot more sense in terms of how to get them up on your screen in the first place. The whole swipe in from the right's been an issue. Hopefully, our days of dealing with Lucky Charms are over, but there's no comment yet on how this is going to be titled. Will it still be the Charms menu or just an application menu? Yesterday, Windows updated the build for 10. If you're running the pre-release, they updated to 9860 with nearly, according to them, 7,000 improvements over the first release. The new release allows you to customize how you receive future updates. You can decide if you want the new features as soon as they're released, or the security patches as soon as they come out, or if you'd like to delay them for a while. They also added some animation and things to switch between desktops. This is going to continually be changing. Some of the new features coming up, they're going to bring Cortana into a future release so you can yell at your computer like you yell at your phone. Dictation's supposed to be in there. They're also going to bring in a notification center. So basically, they're trying to turn Windows into your phone. This is the last version of Windows. There is not going to be an 11, 12, 13, or 29. Updates will include features and patches. Consumers to get them on a monthly basis. Enterprise to get them quarterly or every 6 months. It remains to be seen how often anybody will apply those updates. It also remains to be seen what the cost for that will be on the consumer or the enterprise level. Again, preview.windows.com. The next version of Windows truly rests in your hands. I just needed to kill a few seconds there because I've got 6 seconds left. Thank you very much. If you have questions, you know how to get a hold of me.
All right. Good morning. My name's Franz. I'm with GDirect, and I always feel like it's important to just share a little bit of background. I went off to college, got a business degree in marketing and so forth, and thought I had a definition of success in my own mind, and as God often does, He kind of reshapes your heart and reshapes your vision for what success looks like. And so I ended up spending about 10 years on staff at my home church in Canton, Ohio. First Christian, was a director of communications for about 7 years, and then kind of went back out into the marketplace for a little while. Came back, spent 3 years as executive pastor there, still kind of overseeing some church communications and IT areas as well. So excited to be with you. One of the things that I want to talk a little bit about is something that I learned there. One of the things I learned was that the marketplace and the church often are two kind of separate worlds. Those two words, church and marketplace, or ministry and marketplace, generally don't come together a whole lot. But one of the areas I did see some things come together where you had church IT and church communications. And I remember distinctly being in the meeting room where I had, for the first time, those two groups together, and we were able to accomplish a lot of new and exciting things. So just to keep us all on the same page, I know we're going to talk about the digital marketplace, but just in general, the marketplace, it's basically the place where all kinds of daily activities and transactions take place. I mean, most people, the great majority of people in the United States head out into the marketplace each day. They go to work there. They go to buy coffee, exercise, get their car fixed, go to the dentist, whatever. They are headed out into the marketplace often by necessity, right? So they're out in the marketplace. If the marketplace was a country on the other side of the planet, churches everywhere would have meetings kind of like this, and there'd be strategy sessions, and there'd be this whole idea that we should have plans to reach this country, this marketplace. And so the marketplace is a mission field. Specifically, and I don't need to tell you this, but we don't even have to leave our homes, right, anymore to enter the marketplace. It's in the palm of our hands. Most of us carry our phone within arm's reach, right? 75% take it to the restroom with us, right? So, guilty. I'm guilty. Anybody want to borrow my phone? But, we're always connected, right? We spend, 60-some hours a month looking at screens outside of work, average American. 64% of smartphone users are now not just obviously reading websites or checking email, Facebook, whatnot. They're engaged in the digital marketplace. They're engaged. They're buying stuff. They're shopping, right? So what's happened, right, is entertainment industry, retail industry, they kind of study trends and kind of how the people in the marketplace are moving around and doing things, and they're spending a bunch of money to reach those people. And so it's our contention that, the church has the best message, obviously, on the planet, right? The gospel. And we want to share that both in the physical marketplace, but specifically in the digital marketplace. And so we think the church should be right in the center of that. Quick show of hands. I'm just kind of curious. If you're currently running a display or search network campaign for your church, just throw your hand up if you're currently running one. Okay. And that's kind of what we've found. There's not a whole lot of this happening out in church. We work with dozens and dozens of churches, some of you, and many others. And as we talk and have these conversations, it's just not something that's it's maybe been on the radar. It's been one of those things that we kind of know we should do, but it's a little bit labor intensive, and quite honestly, we're pretty busy people, right? So it's difficult. And so we've seen that hasn't really been happening. And so, but we're of the opinion that it should happen, and we believe that the digital marketplace is really a target, that we should target the marketplace as a mission field and reach in to our digital marketplaces and reach people for Christ. And so, it all kind of starts with you. It starts with the church. And church, we put a lot of time and energy into a lot of things, right? Weekend worship services. I mean, the weekend comes every week. Funny how that happens, isn't it? It comes through. We put a lot of time and energy into it, and we should. And you all, thank you so much for all the hard work that you guys put into the websites and social media and all that, and we should. And so one of the things we want to do, right, is we want to drive as much traffic through the front doors of our church, but we also want to drive as much traffic as we can into the front door, if you will, of our website. And so that's where display networks and retargeting and search networks, we're going to talk just briefly about all those. We're flying at a pretty high altitude today, so hopefully we can visit a little bit more throughout the week. But just to give you an idea, the display network, it's really just kind of come together in the last few years in kind of a major way. There's thousands and thousands of websites, many of which you know. You see the little icons there from CNN or YouTube or Fox News, whatnot. And there's a whole bunch of other like games and apps and places where little ads show up all over the place. A lot of them you've never heard of. I mean, there's just literally thousands of them. And people go there. People are downloading and using these things. And so in all of these cases, the church would pick an event, right? Or they would pick a sermon series or something to that effect, and they would run these display ads geo-targeted around the church and get the message out about what's coming up at the church and so forth. And so, but I think the power of this whole thing is kind of the retargeting piece of it. You're able to, as you drive the traffic to the church website with just a little piece of JavaScript code put in there on each page, you're able to tag those visitors. And so think about it this way. People come to church, and they're visitors, they're guests, they don't often raise their hand, right? They don't often fill out the card or stop by the welcome desk the first time they come to church. Sometimes they kind of slip in, they slip out. And same thing happens with the website. People visit the site. Maybe they're researching a church. Maybe they want to go to church. But, the doorbell rings, the baby cries, something happens, they get distracted, and they may or may not ever come back to your website. But if they're tagged with the retargeting, they have the opportunity now to see your message in the future. So it's like, hey, don't forget us. We have services coming up this weekend. Or, hey, we have this Fall Fest event. Or we have these different things coming up. And because they're tagged, they're retargeted, we can run the very same type of a campaign and keep things in front of them. The beauty of that is they can begin to see you over time. And we all know in advertising it's important to let people know what you're doing. So just a couple of just really quick examples. I want to thank Chris and Elena and Sarah. We were able to run a campaign for Calvary Chapel, Melbourne. About 3.5, 4 weeks period. It's still running. The event isn't until the 26th. But about 250,000 impressions. So that was opportunities for people to kind of see that ad. And actually, and we had created in multiple sizes. There's so much more I could tell you about this. I got about 2 minutes. So 729 clicks. Those are people who actually saw that ad and said, hey, I want to know more. And they clicked on that and went to that. You can see the retargeting. One thing I want to point out is the retargeting code tracks not just people that came to the site from the display ad, but anybody who comes to the site. So your regulars and your new folks and so forth. And so they're tagged and they get to see stuff in the future as well. So some of you, I've heard some conversations earlier when we were kind of checking in and getting set up. Some of you saw we ran a short campaign to kind of raise awareness of Church IT Network to drive more traffic to the site. And I think I checked yesterday was a little high because everybody's kind of getting in. We tagged 120 people yesterday, so some of you were tagged. Tag, you're it. Tagged web traffic and so forth. Just to kind of give you an idea, there was about 212,000 impressions over about a 3-week period, 791 clicks, 12,156 impressions in the retargeting, meaning somebody came, they were tagged, they went back out to the web somewhere, they went to another website, they went to Facebook, they went somewhere, and boom, there was the Church IT Network being promoted. 990 visitors were tagged during the campaign. And it just goes up each day. So you're continuing to tag people for future use. So hopefully we can help you grow and reach the next conference group. So last thing I just want to leave you with is, Paul was a marketplace guy, and, Paul was in Athens, and he, not only went to the synagogues and so forth, but he went into the marketplace. And today, my challenge to all of you is to let's take the church into the digital marketplace. So, thanks a lot.
On? All right, that's better. All right, 15 years ago, when I first got married, my wife did something odd that changed my life as well as my view on technology. Before you can put this in context, understand that during this time, I had just started consulting downtown at corporate clients in Chicago. Everything was about complex architecture. So before unpacking any boxes when we moved into a house or rearranging any furniture, she put one plaque prominently in our family room. That plaque said, simplify. I was curious, obviously coming from corporate architecture, why she would hang a plaque that said simplify. So I asked her about it. She said something about keeping life simple, not overbooking ourselves, focusing on the basic pleasures in life. Basically, I learned over the years that this is about having a defined set of priorities that are important to you and ridding yourself of the things that distract. This concept of simplify has worked its way into the way I approach software development, even more so as I joined Willow Creek Church 3 years ago. As church techies, we're often asked to do more with less and often understaffed for the task ahead. In 2012, one of the campuses approached us about needing a new check-in solution, which led to the creation of a native iOS check-in system. I'm mainly going to talk about an observation and a couple of lessons learned, though I'll give you a brief glimpse of the system. One of the observations was that we as software developers and IT people are process people by nature. This may seem obvious when you talk code or you talk data processing, but what I'm talking about goes beyond that. It's an inherent mindset that we have. An example, when we created this check-in system, we first started having conversations about tech details, but very quickly it became apparent that we were talking about the process parents go through, their children as well. We as a software development team took a step back and asked the ministry to outline what happens from the minute the people, the families, exit their car and walk onto our campus. What we realized is something rather large, that perhaps a handshake at the door, the first real contact was student ministries. They would take their kids to Promised Land, in our case, and this was the greeting they'd get. Oops. Yep, no. All right, that one. This is the greeting they would get. Is this really the greeting you want for potentially new families coming into your church? The other thing we realized as we investigated further is that we asked for a ridiculous amount of data, causing the new family lines to be the longest and most painful lines to stand in. And again, is this the greeting you want for your new families? So we changed our existing family experience to one that was based on speed and hands-free from staff standpoint. And we changed the new family experience to something that had greeting and the person's mobile. And you see how she can engage the kid. She is not behind a desk. And we also ask for a very minimal amount of information to track that kid through our system. Upon reflection, this made me realize more than ever that we as IT and developers can go beyond network and code to help redefine ministry processes and better equip them to focus on their ministry. One of the biggest lessons learned was support. We had just streamlined an entire check-in process. Of course, support would be easy, right? Well, after numerous weekend calls and constant retraining, we realized how wrong we were. It wasn't uncommon for me to be called on the way to church with my own family. Since that time 2 years ago, We've introduced an admin app that gives the ministry, IT, and myself control over the system remotely from our own smartphones. And that cut down on support pretty significantly. However, the real change was we started to train our users in a way that they'd become comfortable training other users, taking the burden off our tiny team. Over time, our most skeptical user became our most valued trainer. Because of our checkout process, our system is fairly barcode-centric. If you're looking for something similar, we found that the Z-Bar barcode reader is an open-source cross-platform, meaning iOS and Android. It can read a barcode with the front-facing camera at quite a distance and recognize it rather quickly. Of course, in an attempt to simplify our system even further, I did play with a few other technologies, Amazon Firefly being one of them. What was interesting about it is you could hold the camera button down, which would take the phone from an off state to a fully aware state of sound and images around you, such as a barcode, a book, music, or a movie. What was surprising is the SDK was very easy to expand Firefly. However, there was one hang-up. One night, while watching TV, I had Firefly listen to the show that was on. It pulled up details of the show, a DVD that you could purchase, and suggested a couple of acts based on the UPC code of the DVD. It displayed Amazon Shop and Willow Check-In. As cool as it would be to check in Spider-Man to our Promised Land classes, that wasn't the intent. Another technology that we've begun to experiment with for check-in is NFC. I've rolled it out to a few beta testers, and I've started to put these NFC tags on the printers. These tags are like 75 cents a piece, and you can encode them with pretty much any information you want. In this case, I just identify the campus and the printer ID. So that when parents come, all they do is hold their cell phones, the NFC tag launches an app, and the name tag prints. So what I didn't tell you about this story with my wife is something she did a few months later. Remember again, this was 15 years ago. Technology was a little bit different. And being a techie like all of you, I was experimenting with random tech at the time, which was wireless, before it was mainstream. It was a painstaking process of going to like 6 different vendors and finding a card that actually worked, jerry-rigging an old PC as a server, controlling a printer as if it was wireless, and we had no cable, so of course it was a dual 56K modems that I coded to stay online 24/7. I gave my wife a laptop with a wireless card in it, and a month later, she was sitting on the couch, watching TV, relaxing with the one she loved, and she said, "This is what I'm talking about, keeping things simple." Of course, she was talking about being wireless, which is mainstream today. But I said to her jokingly, keeping your life is a lot of work. Keeping your life simple is a lot of work. And isn't that the reality for all of us in the church tech world? I truly believe that it is our role to take on the complexity of technology, simplify it, and re-equip our ministry partners. Thank you. I'm Scott. If you want to talk more mobile, I'll be at Mobile Community tonight.
All right, well, like Jason said, my name's Eric Rovtar. I work for a church in Northeast Ohio called Christ Community Chapel. I've been on staff as of this month, 5 years, so I made it so far. When I came on staff, one of the things I noticed first was that we had a phone system that was already outdated. It was before the building was built, which is about 14, 15 years old now. It was old to begin with. So we were looking into different solutions as we went forward. It helps if I start my slideshow. There you go. Okay, so what I wanted to do was talk about what the problem, our options, and our solution, and what we did in this process over the course of the last 2 years. So like I said, we had a 14-year-old phone system. It was analog. There's no possibilities to upgrade it. Voicemail is in reverse chronological order, which still annoys me. I want my new messages first if someone leaves me a voicemail, which they're not supposed to anyway, because I just want an email. And then there's no caller ID, so my other favorite part is I can be on the phone with something, someone else could be calling me, and I have no idea if it's important or what it is. So it's great. What happened was, 2 years ago, we started planning to launch our second largest campus into a building. They were meeting in a different facility at the time, so it gave me the chance to actually investigate phone systems. Well, technology came a lot. I have no training in phone systems. My only experience with them really was Cisco Call Manager from a previous job, and that's kind of where I started, but I kind of knew what I wanted. So to look at the options, these are the things we wanted to do. We wanted to move to VoIP. We knew that. We wanted one system for all of our buildings, because I wanted it to be able just to communicate simpler. I wanted the staff to be able to work easier. We have a very mobile staff, like many of you guys probably do. And that, yeah. And then, so I conferred with other churches, I called around, and like I said, Cisco Call Manager is where I started. We're a Cisco shop, all of our networking equipment is Cisco. I know that they're dependable, and that's kind of where we landed. But they're also really, really expensive. And so that was going to be a big hurdle I knew I had to overcome. But then as I was talking to other churches, people started talking about Lync. Now, I wasn't familiar with Lync. I had kind of heard of Microsoft Communicator, never really used it. What had happened was in 2013, so let's, hang on. So we'll go to the solution. So in 2013, Microsoft released the latest version of Lync, and it was actually deemed by a number of sources as like the first true competitor to Call Manager, which is a feat that many people had tried to do. Microsoft pricing discounts, like you guys know, are significant, so it cut my costs initially down by a lot. And it also easily integrates with Exchange. It also had the features that we were looking for. So we could IM, people could IM in between offices. They could tell my presence based on my calendar. My boss was notorious. I need to ask him a quick question. I'd walk up to his office. He'd be on his cell phone. I'd walk downstairs to where my office was, because we weren't on opposite sides of the building, because that makes sense. So I'd walk back up 10 minutes later. He's still on his cell phone. I have no idea how to ask him these questions. I have to email him. If he responds to it, he's not great about responding to text messages either, so that's how it goes. He's the kind of boss, just real anecdote for the fun of it, that you text you, can you give me a call real quick? You call him right then, and you get his voicemail. I'm not really sure how that works. So, presence, let alone the presence was based on Outlook calendars. Screen sharing, which helps me out to some degree, because I can help people and show them what to do. Online meetings, and then also with other features that we were looking for a standard voice system. Voice calls, video calls, and unified messaging. Another thing is being a mobile church, or having a mobile staff, if I got a voicemail, it comes to my desk. I have no way of knowing where it is. So many times even I get to my desk and I have a voicemail, I was just up by that person's office. I could have helped them much quicker if I would have known, and they would have just called my phone or emailed me. So what we ended up doing, and man, 10 minutes is actually a long time. Okay. I'm like panicking all night last night. I'm like, man, I'm going to go over because I talk a lot. So I'll just elaborate on what we ended up doing. So with the new building, we ended up going with Lync. It is an all-in-one solution for VoIP. We went with an audio codes PBX gateway to bring the lines on, to bring the phone lines on. And we actually implemented in a few different ways. We started with just Lync server, and what we did was we implemented that, tied in with Exchange, got some users on it, specifically the communications team, let them IM, let them file transfer, and collaborate those ways. And then we slowly rolled that out more and more, and as our new building was getting ready to launch, we started going into more of the VoIP idea. Well, this was my first foray into VoIP, so we had a meeting with my old boss at the time, and it seemed like a really great idea to forego hiring someone for $10,000 to help implement this. and we were going to do it as a team. Well, what that meant was I was going to do it. That was a decision that I later regretted and still do. So I don't highly recommend doing that by yourself the first time. We got it working. It works pretty well. So the pricing actually alone was the other big reason we went with it. And then, like I said, it easily integrates with Microsoft products. So at this point, our Stowe campus is using Lync as their standalone phone system. It operates there. And then at the Hudson campus, our main campus, we're looking to integrate that there and at all the other sites. It's just the process we're going through. Yeah. And then, I'm trying to think of what else I can talk about. Do you want me to fill 10 minutes, or do you want me to cut time?
Your time, baby.
Man, I should have. What? I'm horrible at stories. I'm trying to think what else happened in the process of implementing this. Well, we biggest benefit? Okay. So a lot of it is, like I said, like there's a lot of ways that this can help people collaborate a lot and do different things without having to be physically present for each other. So our campus pastors, when it's not our lead pastor preaching, they all have a roundtable of their own to discuss what are they preaching for that weekend. Well, they use a Lync meeting to do it. So they schedule a meeting. It's in Outlook. You just create an online meeting. It throws it in the email, in the invite request. They then have a link. They can join it whether or not they're on. Oh, here's another feature why we went with Lync. You don't have to have Lync installed on your computer to join the meeting. So it just creates an online meeting. You can go to the web page, which we're hosting, that then they can just join the meeting right in their browser. No admin privileges to install the plugin that's needed. And yeah, and it takes like 30 seconds. So all those reasons, too, were reasons that we really went. Lync just seemed like a simpler solution. The other reason we didn't go with Cisco was because Cisco's expandability outline is a little more heavy on things. There's a little more expense involved. There's certain boxes that have to be in certain places for it all to interconnect, and those boxes end up being expensive. Well, with Lync, you have a little more flexibility in how you do that. So the startup costs of Cisco were just enormous to have one site online with the idea of wanting to expand it in the future. Lync, we could put Stowe online, and then Hudson could use the Lync features, but Hudson didn't have to have the gateway and all these things, because the gateway alone was a very expensive piece of equipment. Yeah, so that's pretty much, I mean, so basically, just to sum up again, we went with this direction because I wanted to give our staff a better way that they communicate to each other, solve some problems we had with our old analog system, and do it in a cost-effective way. While I don't advise doing it all by yourself, or at least have a team of people to do it with, and I'm thankful for those of you that did help me when I was having problems. Yeah, it is a good solution. It's a great way to move. It's a great feature set to have to give to your staff. Our staff's really adopted it. It takes some time. You guys all know that. We still don't have people that use it. They don't even know it exists on their computer, though it does. But when I started seeing our campus pastors starting to use it and use it more, they really grabbed hold of it. And the final thing is, Windows and Mac, it is on both of them. The Mac client doesn't have all the features the Windows client does, but with Office 2014 right around the corner for Mac, hopefully it's coming out with more features, but that hasn't been announced yet. So that's it.
I'm John Edmiston. I am at Christ Church of the Valley, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Rock, which is an open source church management system and a whole community centered around that topic. But before I do that, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about CCV and how we hire. One of the things that you will be asked if you want to join our team is, what is better, Star Wars or Star Trek? One of our questions. And the answer, it's pretty easy. It's a softball pitch. The answer is easy. Now the next question's a little bit harder. That's just to warm them up. That's to warm them up. The next question is harder. In a street fight, who would win? Batman or Spider-Man? No, not Doctor Who. That's an easy one, too. It's definitely Batman. And I can tell you all the reasons why later. But now we ask these questions just to kind of judge how they react to them. There's no right or wrong, but if they look at us like we're strange, chemistry's probably not going to be there for a long-term commitment for us. But at the end of the day, don't we all want to be superheroes? I mean, that's why we're here. That's why we're in IT. We want to be superheroes. And I want to just talk about one way, one opportunity, if you want to bring superhero strength to your organizations, one way you might consider doing that. Now, all superheroes have to have certain things, right? You just don't day one become superhero. You have to work your way into it. The first thing you have to have is a cause to fight for. Now, being in the church world, we easily have that. We don't even have to talk about that. We know we're here to win people to Christ. So we have that. The next thing is a journey. Every superhero has to have a journey. Our journey, David and I started working on Rock 4 years ago. Nick joined soon after. And we've been working for 4 years, just really trying to get this thing going. The last 2 years, we've been working night, day, weekends to get it going. As of today, part of that journey is done. We're pleased to announce we are at a 1.0 stage as of today. You can go onto the website, download it, use it. Now, here's where your journey could begin. You know, should you choose to look for superhero strength, your journey starts here today at this conference. We're going to be providing a ton of information about Rock downstairs in the basement. We've got tons of different seminars. There's one that's going to be on Introduction to Rock if you just want to see more about what it is. But your journey could start today. Also, superheroes have to have tools, right? And that's one of the reasons why Batman will always win, because he's got the best tools. And Rock could be one of those tools for you. So I wanted to give you just a quick overview of what Rock can do. And that we thought the best way to do that was we had a friend of ours do a quick intro video that we put up on our website, but I'll just play it for you because I think it really summarizes everything that Rock can do. I'm not sure we're getting audio. Still no audio. I might have to do the voiceover. Still no audio. Do you want me to do the voiceover? It's coming up over the TV though. All right, hold on. Start over. Where's the speaker? Can you hear that? But then you're not going to see the video. It's the HDMI. Okay, so here, I'm going to do the voiceover for you. I wrote the script, so I know what it is. That's what the key is. Okay. Ding. Do you not like your software? Is it holding you back? Can you not afford certain other systems because it breaks the bank? Your wish might not be that far out of your reach. Welcome to Rock. This is our home page. Let's see what this powerful relationship management system can do. This is how we track members and attendees. Ted Decker's kind of our fictitious person. We also track groups. This is our group viewer. Mapping is a big piece of what Rock does. Our advanced check-in system runs on PCs, iPads. Oh, now we're giving. You can do all kinds of fundraisings and donations. Takes credit cards, ACH. You got it. We also spend a lot of time on reporting. So the average ministry user can actually get a lot of data out of Rock with just clicking buttons, not a lot of code. One of the highlights, you have to see the workflow engine. It's amazing. It can do all kinds of automated processes. Includes all kinds of texting even capabilities. But it's also built on top of a very powerful CMS system. So this is kind of showing some of those tools. And it's mobile friendly, it's responsive, works on any device. And it has great documentation. We're not a vendor, so we don't have the ability to support you in paid support, but we did provide very well-written documentation. There's also other community tools like a Q&A. Already our community is already supporting that. Best thing is it's free, no cost. We like to call it extravagantly free. I can kind of hear it. So how can we do this? We're not a vendor. We're an open source community. What you see in Rock is not just 3 or 4 of us supporting and working on Rock. It's really a whole community working with Rock. And ding. All right, that wasn't quite as good as we wanted, but you know. Okay, so to be a superhero, the biggest part is effort, right? And that's what, you know, Rock's going to be to be successful. But that's not any different than any product. Even if you're not going to be a superhero in Rock, give effort to everything you do. Whatever system you use or whatever application you use or whatever you do in life, just give effort. And that effort starts here. If you're interested in Rock, we're going to be doing a lot of, like I said, a lot of talks on that. So we'll be downstairs. These are the sessions that we have on tap for the next 2 days if you're interested. I would say definitely the introduction to Rock at 3:30 would be a good starting point, but we do have 2 before that. So your schedule's up to date. You guys have that available on your phones. Another thing that every superhero needs is a league of friends, and that's what the community is. Again, Rock is not just a few of us who work on it. It's a whole community supporting it. And we had a great community meeting yesterday. We had over 60 people there. So already, even though we're 1.0, we're coming out of beta, you know, we have a great team who's helping us. Also, every superhero needs an outfit. So we have T-shirts for you, and the community is going to be back in the back of the room to help hand those out. Don't go get them yet. We have some announcements and some other things that we need to do. But as soon as that's done, we have T-shirts for you in the back of the room. Thanks for your time.